And welcome to That's Gross Beans. I was so jazzed about knowing what episode is I had to lead with that. Today is Monday, October 26th, and this is episode 158. Part of the bad thing with the ADD mind is that you feel like if you've like managed to grasp onto something, you have to get it out really, which is why we interrupt really badly. I'm sorry. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Tova. See what? Olive, who is our smallest dog, our newest dog of two dogs. Sounds like we have like a horde of dogs. We don't. We have two dogs. But she's the little one who is still a pup. And so she is chewing on a bone like a foot and a half away from me on a futon in our dining room. We only have a 2-bedroom house. Sometimes if somebody needs to stay here, the accommodation was that there's a futon in the dining room. Whatever. Don't judge. So you roll. So sorry if I'm distracted. She's being really stinking cute, which is like her full-time job, which she excels at so well. So anyway, hi, how are you? Today I will have knitting and spinning, sort of, and then I will have shenanigans in the form of the Rhinebeck. So I think what I'll do, I know I always say I'll do the knitting and spinning first, but then I feel like I'm so stilted in my knitting and spinning because I haven't warmed up by talking about nothing. But I still think that's what I'm going to do. So spinning. I finished a bobbin. I didn't finish what I am spinning, but I finished another bobbin, which is good because and then I lost a bobbin for a minute, but then found it. Okay, I lost it for like a day and a half. Let me just discuss. It was very stressful. I need that like that Bluetooth tag for literally everything in my life. So it doesn't really work if you have to tag everything. The older I get, the worse it gets. I put this in a very clever place, which I didn't remember. But I didn't find it, so that's all that matters. It wasn't this one, it was the other one. But so this is the second bobbin, so I now have 8 ounces of CVM Rommeldale from the folks at Winterwind Farm. I enjoy it quite a bit. I have 8 of 20 ounces spun. And that will be a sweater for me. If it's not, there will be abrupt protest. I don't know what abrupt protest is, but there will be gnashing of teeth. I guess that's better. So I'm trying to do a 3-ply, and I'm spinning it really, quite frankly, in no way. I am the worst. I'm the worst. I'm just spinning it. Let's just say that with no technique. It's string. So. And by that, I mean, when you're when you're spinning a sweater's quantity of yarn, you really want to try to be consistent, right? You do. That's the whole point. That's why it's a challenge, and that's why it's interesting. I am the worst. But most people are too. So, I mean, not most people, but there are lots of people who are equally the worst. Mostly it's short backward draw, but really it's kind of like short backward draw and supported long draw, depending like on how my shoulder feels. Where I'm sitting makes a difference. I'm a hot mess, basically. But anyway, so that's still enjoyable. I have not spun as much as I would like to, because there is not an infinite supply of time. I don't know what that's about. Time Lords, go with it. But I am enjoying it. I've started on the 12 ounces is the next mark. So I've started on that bobbin, but I have not. Maybe I have like half an ounce. I don't even have that much left. So yay. I mean, I have like a half an ounce on the bobbin. But sorry, this is wonderful to spin. It's very enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. I should do the episode where you only see my eyes. Because there's no double chin that way. Ba-bam. I guess I should mention, I'll tell you my hat when I get to finish. Okay, I'm going to do finished objects right now. So let's get this out of the way. Okay? Okay. I am wearing my excess hat. That is a pattern by Anat Rodan, Rodan, and I believe it is a pay pattern. I'm not sure. A lot of people think it's the barley. I don't know if you can see, but there is some garter stitch, like a garter stitch panel, much like the barley. Except, unlike the barley, this is written for fingering weight yarns. And it has a folded hemmed brim versus the barley, which has ribbing. I really like a folded brim. When I wear hats, I tend to wear them all day long because I try not to ever turn on my heat in the house. By the way, my husband has turned on the heat. It's a sad day. But I try to turn off the heat as soon as he leaves the house. So I tend to wear a hat all day, and by the end of the day, ribbing, so it depends. It depends on, I think, if there is positive or negative ease in the ribbing. Usually, universally across the board, you make a hat with negative ease. However, if you're me, you like a little bit of either zero ease or just a tiny bit of positive ease. Because again, I wear my hats so much during the day that when it's ribbing and it's snug, it really starts to itch my forehead, regardless of like how soft the wool is. I think it's just the pressure of the wool, of the hat against my head. So I really like the folded brim. It, of course, is less elastic, but I never have trouble. I mean, sometimes I have trouble with them, like wanting to slide around, but usually it's when they're bigger around. Do you know what I mean? Or they're heavier, like a heavier hat. These, especially in the fingering weight, stay very nicely put. They do eat your hair in the back, so I'm constantly trying to pull the little bits of hair out of my hat. But anyway, so I really like these. I know, lots of words, right? This is knit in Malabrigo Mechita. It's a single ply fingering weight, and so it's great for this. A lot of people do not like single ply yarns. I like them for accessories. I would not make a sweater out of them. They just do not wear as well. That's not entirely true though. I mean, I've made Lopi sweaters in my life, but that's slightly different. These are like, I don't know if this one is merino. I'm assuming it is since it's merino superwash, since it's Malabrigo. But your longer wools, like your Lopi wools, sorry, the dog's being very distracting. Your Lopi style wools have a longer staple, so they can get away with a lower twist that you need for a single and still be, I mean, certainly Lopi sweaters do get braided, but they hold up well regardless because, again, that staple length is long enough that you just put a little twist in it, it still holds together. But if the staple length is this long and you put a little twist into it, these little things just keep flying out and you get more ends per yard that come out and make fuzzballs and ultimately are unhappy. But I really enjoy them for shawls and anything that requires strape because they usually are pretty, so that's good. What else should I say? I think I make this hat slightly deeper than is suggested in the pattern because, and this one I even think I wanted to make it deeper and I didn't. Because I like the hat to fold down in the back versus to actually fit exactly on my head. But I think that's all. I enjoy this hat quite a lot. do I only have one other? I guess I only have one other one, but I foresee more in my future because I really enjoy it. Okay, and I have this much left. I didn't weigh this, but I bet there, I really think there's enough to make another one, especially if you didn't make it drapier in the back. If you just made it like a regular hat, I think you could get 2 out of there. But I could be wrong. And also, fingering weight hat, people are like, well, for when they wear them inside, so I like a fingering weight hat. But the folded brim also helps with additional warmthiness. Oh, I have another finished object. Well, no, it's not. But I have an almost finished object, and you may not see it when it's actually finished. So, Tova needed a new hat, because hi. So I made this one. This is not blocked, and it is not done, and I'll tell you more in a minute. But this is the Cornice by Woolly Wormhead. Oh, I know, it's so beautiful. And it is, she wears glasses like I do, and does not like a regular hat. She likes a hat with ear flaps because if you're a person with glasses, lots of times a regular hat wants to like push down on your glasses and it can be very annoying. So this is obviously too small for me. But this is what it looks like. It's got the little ear flappy bits. And then it will have a pom-pom. Hand spun pom-pom for the win. Pow! And this is hand spun that is from fiber made by... this is from Spun Right Round. So this was a club colorway, and I apologize, I no longer know what the name of the colorway was. But it was a club colorway. I know that much. And isn't it darling? I have a bunch left too, even after the pom-pom. And it has not been blocked. However, what I am going to do is, the pattern is written for DK weight. And my yarn was like, maybe more sport than, it was like between sport and DK. So my my yarn was DK, but I have terrible time knitting to a good gauge. So my gauge is a little bit looser. So probably because of that, and the fact that this yarn was more worstedy spun, I don't feel like it's thick enough on the brim to really be super warm. So not that this is neat, again, different gauges of hats. There's an excuse to have more than one hat, right? But I feel like it would be better used if I put some polar fleece. I'm going to cut out a polar fleece lining just for the brim, I think. And how I plan to do that is just to lay this down and do like a little pattern, essentially. Since it's not an even brim, you can't just cut a strip. So I plan to lay it down and just kind of make a little pattern off of that and then just tack it in. And hopefully if I use the grain of the fleece, you know, it stretches really a lot on one grain and not so much on the other, if at all. So I'll try to use the stretchier side of the grain. But I do need to block this, I think, before I do that. And by block it, I just mean wash it. And I'm not going to actually block it. But I do want to wash it just to see, because this is hand spun, it probably has already floofed up as much as it's going to because it's been washed once. But just in case, I just want to give it another chance. And again, so it's a relatively light pom-pom, even though it's pretty big. So I don't know that I'll need to do any reinforcement. You can put a button on the inside of the hat. To help the pom-pom have something more to anchor into than just the top stitches of the hat. You can also just cut a felt circle or a double layer felt circle and do the same thing. But I don't think this one is too heavy. I'll see as I'm tagging it down what I think, but won't that be cute? And it looks very cute on my husband too. I told him he needs one because he doesn't like the hats that cover his well, he doesn't really want them to cover his ears, so I guess that wouldn't work, but oh well. I also finished his hat, but he has it on, so you can't see that. It was the hat of no pattern anyway, so like, really, but I think he liked it, which he better, because man alive. I'm gonna have early arthritis in my hands because of those stupid hats. But I do think he liked it, so that's good. Before we go any further, the cowl I am wearing is Handbrake, and that was written by Kay Jones, who is of the Bakery Bears podcast. They're across the pond. I think it's only a pound GBP. So, and all the proceeds go to cancer research. So it's a nice little, I didn't knit this. This was knit for me by Darren of the Knitting in Circles podcast. My fellow Ginger. So it's a nice, simple pattern, but it's to great effect. It works great with multicolors. This is Madeline Tosh in the Stephen Loves Tosh colorway. Yay! So it smells so good, by the way. Why is this? I have this wool wash that is something like, it's called like cashmere wash or something. What the heck is happening to me? I'm looking extra crazy as the minutes go by. It's called something like cashmere wash or something. I don't know. It's some sort of like fancy, like Shishi brand wool wash, I think. It's not like knitter endorsed. It's just like for your machine, your whatever, your woolens from the fancy lands. But it smells so good. I think the fragrance is called Cedar, if I'm not mistaken. I don't particularly like it as a wool wash because it is very sudsy. you really have to rinse it quite a lot, which I don't like. It's not, I mean, especially when you're dealing with a superwash, it's not that big of a deal. But I don't like to have to kind of rinse all those suds out, because the more you rinse, the more you change temperatures of wool, the more likely you are to felt something. Or again, just in general, it's a pain to have to kind of, there it is, it's called the Laundress. See, that sounds fancy, right? The Laundress Wool and Cashmere Shampoo in cedar. So I don't really like it, but I love the way it smells. I could just sniff it. It smells like if you're, let's see, what does it smell like? I can't even describe it because I don't know anything this fancy in real life. It smells like you would think that a gentleman was smoking a pipe in his like heritage Fair Isle sweater after, you know, riding the hunt and sitting in his library. Like if the picture had a smell, that's not really what it smelled like, because it would smell like stale tobacco smoke and like damp wool and stinky horses. But if the picture of it had a smell, do you know what I mean? Like if just the pure, like, of the image had a smell, that's what this would smell like. Does that make sense? I don't know why they didn't call the smell that. It smells so good, but I don't really like it, but it smells so delicious. Anyway, I'm going to take this hat off because really, between the hat and the cowl, my hair is doing exceptionally bonko stuff. Okay. So, that's that. So thank you, Amy and Darren. So then the other thing I have to show you are just socks. I know, right? I'm not working on any big projects right now. I'm waiting for measurements for my mother so that I can start my next sweater project. But till then, so let's show you things that you've already seen before. You have already seen, I finished one sock. Oh, I don't have a blocker. Darn it. Isn't it pretty? I don't know if you think it's as pretty as I do, but I love it. This is Socks That Rock in the Superwash BFL. It's not socks, it's Blue Moon Fiber Arts in the Superwash BFL. This is the colorway Broody Bantams, and I love it. It is like the most amazing, like heritage hard corn. It's gorgeous, decorative. It's not just decorative. It's gourd season. It's decorative corn season, and that's the beautiful color of it. And so this is just a regular cuff down sock with a slip stitch heel. The only thing is, like, I do 3 rows of stockinette and 1 row of 1x1. So 3 rows of knitting and 1 row of knit 1 purl 1. And it gives it just like a fun little, almost like a decorative corn texture. Oh my gosh, what up? Decorative corn socks. So anyway, I really like it. Eek. And so I've done, that's the first one, and then I'm starting on the second one. I just have the cuff and a few rows. I'm knitting these on circular needles. I don't talk much about the circulars. I prefer, I knit on double zeros, and now I even have some triple zeros in here. So the choices are limited. Usually I like Chalgu red laces quite a lot. I have the interchangeable set. I've never bought an interchangeable set until that one. I like them a lot so. But these are the Addy Sock Rockets in a double zero. And these are my favorite circulars that are available in a double zero. There's not that many. I hate high eyes. I know a lot of people love them, but they have a much floppier cable that I do not like at all. Zero. But I like this one, and I knit on 32 inches. So yeah, there's that. So I try not to say that too often, but I know people are newer sometimes, and so occasionally I'll try to remember to say that. And it's in my bag from Knitspin Farm, because she's the fanciest. Did you get your calendar? I hope you did. She has a farm calendar for 2016. If you didn't get yours in pre-order, but you can still get one for reals. When she gets them printed, she'll have them, I think she said in her Etsy shop. But you can check her blog for the info and the down low. And also her video podcast. Okay. That's what I'm saying. And then the next thing I have that you have seen, this is in a bag by, I think this is stitched by Jessalou. Is Jessalou bag? Jessalou? the bee one. Oh, there's no tag in it. I think it's stitched by Jess Lou, who has the bee thing. I think that's right. So this is like a little box. Oh, here it is, right here. Oh yes, it's stitched by Jess Lou. So this is my Gales Art sock blank in the Big O colorway. This is what it looks like. And this is my first sock. I'm doing Afterthought Heels, Laura Linneman's Afterthought Heels. So there's the first one. Isn't it awesome? I love it so much. And then here's the second one. I have not put in the heel yet, the waist yarn for the heel, but here's the second one. And secretly, not only do I not mind knitting from the sock blank, I was kind of undecided on my first one. My first one that I knit was a spun right round sock blank, and I was undecided. I loved the way the sock looked, but I was undecided if I liked knitting with the kinky yarn. And now I think I've decided that I definitely do like knitting with the kinky yarn, and I kind of even would not mind, which it won't. But I really like the way the sock is kind of bumpily and fun. I like the texture of it. It's awesome. I totally dig it. So, Gail has both double strand and single strand sock blanks. I prefer the single strand because I only knit one at a time socks. Right. And then the other sock I have to show you is new. I know I usually do not have 3 socks going at once, but I don't, there's no excuse for what happened. I don't know. This is yarn by Simply Sock Yarn, and it's their post self-striping, and it's called Ghost Town. I did not need more sock yarn, but I could not resist this teal pop color. The teal with the orange is just like, well, okay, if you insist. Okay. So this is, again, Ghost Town. I just got past the place where I had knit like this much of the sock, but I was so unhappy with it. It was just looking very loosey-goosey. The gauge was looking very loosey-goosey. And so I decided at Rhinebeck, I was in one of the buildings, and Malia was getting needles, and she was like, don't you need to, because I had mentioned I was going to try triple zeros. Oh my gosh, it sounds so stupid when I say it even. But I was just not happy with how I could not get the gauge to tighten up. Well, I think there were 2 factors. This is I think it's Coriadale, and I apologize, I don't have the tag with me, but I'm pretty sure it's a 75% Coriadale, 25% nylon, which I love how it feels in the finished product, and I like how it feels here. However, for me, it is very humidity. It's very humidity sensitive. Is that even a word now? I'm confused. It is very, very delicate. Like, even if I have slightly damp hands, either from moisturizer or from like social anxiety, even in like comfortable situations, I get a little anxious and my hands get a little sweaty. So even with that, my tension on this yarn just goes wonky, just goes haywire. So I ripped that all out. I hate to rip out yarn, especially socks, but I just did not like how it was looking. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, like, even down here, I knit this in Rhinebeck on the triple zeros. It's still a little loose, but by the time I got home, and again, I'm in my freezing cold house with only the humans that are intensely related to me, I was able to get my gauge to where I want it to be. So I like this yarn. Some people have trouble with it feeling splitty to them. The way I knit, it does not. I don't have issues with it being splitty at all. So that's just me. And I love their yarn. It's super fun, and they're great folks. They have a great shop. All about me and my weirdness. But I will continue to buy it because I'll just knit it in the wintertime. Okay, so that's all the knitting and spinning. The rest is just going to be ridiculous Rhinebeck stuff. Okay, so you'll notice a slight break in narrative and picturiness. Originally I had recorded the Rhinebeck, got it all loaded in the computer, was trying to edit through, and it was a hotter mess than is normal. It was like a steaming mess. It was a moist mess. Right? That doesn't sound like what you want to watch, is it? No, it's not. It's really not. So I'm still kind of, I'm still kind of chewing on the cud of my experience at Rhinebeck. I've not talked about it to a lot of people because A, nobody in my real life is that interested in their in Rhinebeck stories. Surprise. But also it was just kind of such a experience that I've been having trouble trying to make it into some sort of cohesive thing to tell you. So I apologize. There is not going to be like a glorious and epic storytelling Rhinebeck experience. But I will say that I had a lovely time. It was just awesome. I met so many great people. The podcaster meetup was super awesome sauce. I do apologize for those at the podcast meetup. I don't know how to manage that very well yet. This is only my second time going to Rhinebeck, and I've not done very many podcast meetups just in general, or meetups. So I apologize. It feels a lot of times like you're queuing up to say hello, and that is not the experience I want you to have. It would be much more enjoyable if we could all just kind of interact in some way. So I'm very much about structure, and so I don't know what structure to try to implement in that situation. We all just need to play a board game, okay? But just a giant round of illustrations, maybe? I don't know. But it was super enjoyable to speak with so many of you and to see so many of your super shining faces and just to experience what a great energy that Rhinebeck has. If Rhinebeck is nothing else, it is like a Disney World in terms of nobody has really a bad time at Disney World, or if they do, they're just not going to have a good time anywhere, kind of a thing. So it is just amazing to be around that much positive, excited, creative, woolly energy. Like, that is what is amazing about New York. It's different than any other festival or retreat that I've been to. It's great. I mean, if a retreat is you at your best, Rhinebeck may even be more of that, because it's like you just have to be your best for like 8 hours and then you can go be somebody else, you know what I mean? So it's even more exaggerated. That being said, I don't know how to explain it or explain the lovely time that I had there. But I will tell you about all the stuff I bought. Shut up. Because that's structured and I can do that. I am wearing a hat that was knit for me by the lovely Malia, rhymes with Maria. It's hand spun from Hello Yarn. I apologize, I don't know offhand what pattern it is, but I will try to get that information and put it in the podcast notes. The show notes you can find at thefastworld.com. So yeah, I'll talk about half of the, I have 2 bags. So I'll talk about the first bag right now. Okay, so first bag in no particular order. Very early on, I went to Into the World because I knew I wanted some her sock yarn. I recently knit a sock that was gifted to me, or some sock yarn at first was gifted to me, and I enjoyed it so much. And I apologize, something is weird with the angle. There's a lot of my torso. I can't scooch down enough. So I definitely wanted to get some of her sock yarn. And so while I was in the booth, I just picked up this one, which is Walla Walla. It is hand-painted Bethel sock, which is 438 yards of a 4-ply superwash, blue face Leicester. BFL. Isn't it gorgeous? Right? Doesn't it just need to be on like a little pivoty thing that could just turn and be gorgeous for you? Totally should be. And then I bought this one. This is the new hand kettle dyed. And this is Captain Tight Pants. And it's knit up, looks awesome on their samples, so I'm very excited. This is also the BFL base that the other one is in. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. And while I was looking for sock yarn, I had no thought of getting bats because her bats usually sell out very quickly. But as I was starting to go into line to pay for my sock yarn, bats! I saw bats. So I've never had any of her bats before, so I was very excited to get two. I got Rhinebeck, and this one is Polar Silk, I think, yes. And I got Captain Taipans in Falkland. So bats, not merino, from Into the World. Of course I had to get them. It's a little extravagant, but come on. They were there, just waiting for me. The universe was like, hey, you need some Into the World bats. And I was like, thank you, universe. You are correct. So I got those. I know, right? And then I got the very first purchase I made, Malia rhymes with Maria, was knitting this sock blank. And not that I didn't think I would like this sock blank, but I just had not really looked at it twice. Her sock was so gorgeous that I had to have it. So in fact, my first stop on Saturday of Rhinebeck was to Gail's Art. My very first purchase was the sock blank because it is super awesome sauce. I may have had regrets later in the day that I didn't get this Christmas one, so I may have just purchased that online. There's just too much cool stuff in the world, right? Right. Okay, so then the other things that I purchased. Oh, I already put that away. That was so foolish of me. One of the other things I purchased was Barmaid's Lolo bars was there. How cool is that? So I got to smell some of their product, and I ultimately purchased. What was it called? Like Winter Magic or something? That's what it should have been called. Oh, maybe I'll just talk about that next time if I can try to remember. But in case I don't. They also have, these are my favorite scents that they have right now. This is a Winter Magic one. I don't know what it's called. It's Winter something. But it almost is like a, I could not figure out what it was. And so I had to have like 4 other humans, maybe 5, smell it. And then finally we pieced together the fact that it smells of pineapple. But then it's not like that cloying fake pineapple smell. It has like almost like a cedar or something in with it. It is a unique and wonderful smell. Winter Wonderland? I don't know. But the reason I was looking too is that recently Joanna Spring had told me that I should try to, or if I could find a sample of chestnut and cedar, or cedar and chestnut. I think it's chestnut and cedar. That she thought I would like it, and I loved it. In fact, I didn't wait for I didn't know they were going to be at Rhinebeck, or I would have waited. But I just ordered it because I was like, oh, if Joanna says I like it, I will like it. It's that Joanna. She knows stuff. And I did. I love it. So I recommend that one. And then I also, I always love Deep Forest. It has kind of a piney, but also a citrusy scent. You don't smell like pine sol. Or at least I don't think you do. I think you smell like magic, like Narnia winter time at the lamppost. And the little goat man is going to help you have magical times with your knitting. That's what I think of that one. So those are my 3 favorites right now. Deep Forest, chestnut and cedar, or cedar and chestnut, but I believe chestnut and cedar, and winter something or other. I know, right? I'll try to remember to bring them next time, but I probably won't. So I just felt like I need to tell you right now. Okay. So then the other things I have to show you in this day's purchases, in this bag of purchaseness, is that I was looking at kits. Because kits are always fun, right? I love a kit. I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, you're going to give me the supplies all put together and perhaps charge me 20% extra? That's fine. You put it together for me. That's worth it. Not that these were very reasonably priced kits, but I'm just telling you, in general, I do love a kit. Okay. Okay. Especially when it's for a craft that I am not versed in. And that is the case in these two. So the first thing was mini gnomes. And this is for Going Gnome. And I believe it is goinggnome.com. She has her kits online for you to purchase. And I recommend that you do. Okay. Okay. So these are the mini gnomes. Now she had several of these made up and ready for sale. And I really debated about whether or not to buy the gnome or buy the kit. It was a struggle. It was a struggle to decide. Because her whole booth was made of things that I was in love with. Like I am not a needle felter. I have done some needle felting, but never like an actual like sculptural piece. So I'm very intimidated by that. My brain does not necessarily work in a 3-dimensional field. Like I'm not confident that I'm going to be great at it. However, I could not resist. And her booth overall, I was in so much love with it that it was like $24 just for the joy of experiencing her booth, let alone that I could maybe make something that might closely or even remotely resemble how awesome her booth was. So, there was a little gnome fellow. These are the minis. The minis are like this big. And then she has like a full size. It's like this big. And there was this little Viking gnome man. We are getting married. He probably doesn't know that because I didn't bring him home. Because I live in a small house and there's not like a place to put things. If you recall my struggle with not having purchased the needle felted Bigfoot from the Greencastle wool fiber event several years ago, like I had great and deep pains that I did not purchase the Bigfoot, the Yeti wool man, but I was really struggling with the fact that I had nowhere to put the Yeti wool man. Well, I had no place to put this gnome, but I loved him deeply and truly. Like I'm not sure that I may be establishing a fetish. I'm not sure. But I say to no to furries, but yes, perhaps to marrying small woodland felted men. I'm just saying. I endorse that if you would like to enjoy that option as well. He had orangey, gingery hair and this magnificent ginger mohair beard. I'm sorry, husband, but I'm marrying that gnome man. At least in my heart. Oh my gosh, and then she had, I don't know if it was supposed to be David the Gnome, but do you remember David the Gnome? Okay, I'm 37. And when I was a youth, we did not have cable, but sometimes we would know people who did. And on Nickelodeon, they had David the Gnome. And David the Gnome's voice is by Tom Bosley, who is also the sheriff on Murder, She Wrote. One of the sheriffs, the more portly one. He was also the father on Happy Days. He has many, many things that he has done, but he was also the voice of David the Gnome. I may have all of the David Gnome on DVD, I'm just saying. I'm a grown-up. I can do stuff like that now. But she had this amazing, and I do mean amazing. That is not in any way hyperbole. It was literally amazing. This flying needle-felted owl, whose wingspan, I don't think I'm exaggerating, I think was about this big. Okay? Amazing. Wings, like articulation in the feather. Okay, articulation might indicate movement. But there was separation in the wings. Like the wing tips. It was not just like the shape of a wing. It was like feather, 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 feather. In full flight, carrying a gnome who looked like David the Gnome in that he had a sky blue shirt and a red hat on. In the wonderland of my future, in which they make Roombas that not only vacuum your floor, but vacuum all the surfaces, including ones that are hanging from your ceiling. I will own that. By the way, Paula, oh my gosh, of Knitting Pipeline, I just saw her very briefly the very first day while I was standing in line to get into the festival, was telling us about her Roomba. If you see Paula, you must ask her about her Roomba. It is the most enjoyable 7 to 9 minutes you will spend. So enjoyable. Anyway. This going gnome woman is super amazeballs. That's all there is to it. She had tree gnomes. And I did look online and those kits are available. I've not purchased it yet, but that trigger it's got a hair trigger. In which it's a beautiful full-size gnome fellow, but he has like green mohair locks, like for his hat that then morphs into his beard that morphs into like his torso. So he looks like a tree, but also a gnome, and he's all wool. I was in love with her and all the things she made. But it's awkward to tell somebody that. So I hope I can make them happen. My theory was that while I don't have a place to sit things, that they won't just look scrummy and disgusting, because again, 3D Roomba does not happen yet. I thought maybe if I could just maybe make these little fellas happen and make them into ornaments. Ornaments are a wonderful thing that you get to love and hang on a tree, or maybe just about. But they seem to just, if they're there just a little while, they won't get dusty, right? So it has all of your felt, all your wool that you will need, and your needles to work with. And then I got a little piece of foam to work upon. And then the next kit I bought, I originally went in there because my mom likes the rug hooking with the strips of wool, and I thought that I would get her a kit, but then I was so overwhelmed by how fun the kits were that I couldn't decide. So I decided on this small one for me. And she also has an online store. She is J. Connor Hooked Rugs, and I believe her website is jconnorhookedrugs.com. And it's Connor with an E, C-O-N-N-E-R. She was completely enjoyable. Her name was Janet. She had, the thing that drew me in is that she had a rectangular, like, sperm whale rug hooking kit. That hooked me. I was on board at that moment. I knew I would be walking around with something. But what I ultimately decided to get was the bee skep and the bees. And again, she had lots and lots and lots of different ones. And this was the $25 size, which I feel like was very reasonable. And it came with all of this wool. And she was so precious. She said that if, for any reason you run out of something, she will happily, if you just send her a little cutting of it, try to dye something for it to match. She guarantees it all at no charge. So how awesome is that? I'm behind that. And it's got the binding that you need too, which I'm a little bit scared of the binding, but I might ask my mom to do it. It's okay, right? I'll make her something else. So she was super enjoyable. I feel like there was something else I was supposed to say about her, but now I can't remember. Oh well. Oh my gosh, this is what I had to say about her. You should go to her website. She has a few things that are available like as a click and purchase, but she also has the PDF, the color PDF of her catalog. I highly encourage you to look at the whole thing, but especially scroll through, I think, to the second to the last page. She has a wool rug hooked Venus of Willendorf. And she has the most awesome cave painting wool hooked rug thing. It's like a flippin', I almost cursed, even though I try not to curse for you, but that was just so powerful that I felt the curse just come out of me. It was awesome. This like French cave painting into rug hooking. I'm on board. I feel like I need to make that happen in my life. Right? That's totally legitimate thing to have, right? Oh my gosh, it was so cool. So it's just a picture of it, but I'm in love with it. So I really hope that I can make this happen on a small scale, because then I'm feeling like there needs to be French cave painting, rug hooking in my life. I love you people. I love crazy wool people so stinking much. Do you know there are people out there that don't have a passion and that might think that having a French cave painting, rug hooking thing in your house would be a little bit crazy? There are people like that. What? Who are they? I don't know. I don't care for them. So I'm not very good at the narrative of Rhinebeck, but let me just discuss. It was beautiful. Beautiful sweaters, beautiful shawls, so many bobble hats. I gotta make that happen. Gorgeous, but just gorgeous, shining humans. It was like if you took all of the children in the Disney World and grew them into adults who loved wool, that is the experience everybody was having. I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna get teared. I can watch the saddest movie on earth, but the happy people at the wool is what's going to make me cry, right? But I just want to say thank you. Thank you if you were a happy person of wool. Thank you if you were not there, but you were still a happy person of wool in another world, because your energy was there. We felt you. We felt you. I'm just so grateful that that is a thing that exists, and that something that I care about is shared by so many people, and that I actually get to participate in their enjoyment of the thing. It is awesome. Awesome. That's all there is to it. So, before I get too verklempt, I'll cut it off here. And then the next time I'll have a regular podcast, but I will also talk about the lovely people at Harrisville Designs, because I may or may not have an entire bag of wool from them. I may have also purchased a loom from them. Like, not a real loom, but like a potholder loom, but the mega size one. Did you know they made that? I didn't know they made that until I foolishly went on their website. Foolishly. They may have had autumnal potholders, and I may have been like, okay, sign me up. I need another new craft. December's gonna be the month of doing new things, right? Are you looking forward to it? I am. Somebody is totally weed whacking. I feel like it's actually my husband. What is he doing? He's not even supposed to be home yet. I feel like he's out there weed whacking. That's totally what's happening. Anyway, I think that's a good sign that I should just cut this off right now. So next time I'll have a really good podcast, and I'll also talk about the awesome folks at Harrisville Designs. And what else do I need to tell you? Oh, the library bag update is going to happen November 1st if you would like one of those. And just FYI, there are still pre-sale or pre-sale Christmas bags up, winter holiday bags, winter bags. What do you want to call them? There's still slots available. I know a lot of you think that if you don't get something the day of that the thing goes up, that you're not going to get one. But I purposely tried to buy an excessive amount of fabric so that I would have slots open for a longer period of time. So yeah, that's the stuff I had to say. I'll talk next time. Bye.